Story time of how I got cheated on. Okay, so we started dating in March of 2023. Yeah. And in July of 2023, he went on a beach trip with his cousin and his cousin's family. I was already a little nervous because, you know, like the beach girls, whatever. Like, you're going to be nervous when your boyfriend goes to the beach. So it's his last night on the beach. It is a Friday night and it is 11 o'clock and he's like still on the boardwalk. And I notice his phone is at like 4. So I call him and I'm like, or I FaceTime him, like, hey, like, when do you think you're going to go back to the hotel? Like, just wondering. And in the background, I see these 2 beach girls that they met. And like, keep in mind, his cousin's girlfriend at the time, me and her were really good friends and she was there. So basically, he's like, my phone's about to die, but I'll go back to the hotel soon. Like, we met these girls and we're asking people on the boardwalk for money. And they're like helping us, which is so weird to me, but I'm just like, oh, okay. So his phone dies. Last thing I know is that he's on the boardwalk with 2 beach girls. Him and his cousin are on the boardwalk with 2 beach girls. This isn't the cousin that has a girlfriend. This is a different cousin. Anyways, so yeah, and his cousin's phone's broke too, so I can't even like call his cousin then. Yeah, so I'm waiting for him to get back to the hotel because I can't sleep knowing he's out on the boardwalk at 11 o'clock with beach girls. And I'm waiting, 2 a.m., no call, no text, phone's still dead. And at this point I'm thinking, okay, he probably just went back to the hotel and fell asleep and forgot to plug his phone in. I wish. So I get a text from his cousin's girlfriend and was like, hey, like, have you heard from my boyfriend at the time? And I was like, no, isn't he back yet? And she was like, no, they're not like back yet. Like, I don't know where they are and none of them are answering. And I'm like, yeah, his phone's dead and like, you know, the other cousin's phone is broke. And this is at 3 a.m., keep in mind. So all I know is they're out on the beach at 3 a.m. doing whoever knows what. So she's like, okay, like, we're gonna call the cops because we don't know where they are. We don't know what happened. Like, yeah. So they get the cops involved and me and him are logged into each other's Instagram accounts and I get a notification that says, blah, blah, started following you on his account. So I go and look at it because it's a girl and it's the girl that was in the background of the FaceTime call. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. So I'm sitting here tweaking out, as one would do. And I told the cousin's girlfriend, I was like, hey, like, she just followed me. This is who they were with, right? She's like, yeah, like, that's who they were with. Could you, like, DM her? And I was like, yeah. So I DM'd her off my boyfriend's account. And I was like, do you know where they are? Like, if you do, you have to tell us because we're getting the cops involved. And she's like, I don't know where they are. Like, stop texting me. Don't text me. And I'm like, all right, so you do, but whatever. She says they, like, split up, whatever. So I get a text from the cousin's girlfriend about half an hour later. And she's like, we found them. They were 25 streets down walking the girls back to their hotel. So I'm like, what are you doing with 2 beach girls at 3 a.m. walking them back to their hotel? What is going on? No. And keep in mind, this whole time, he has, you know that, like, Kiss hoodie and Kiss shirt, that trend? He has that Kiss shirt on, so she knows he has a girlfriend. And she followed him on Instagram, so his whole Instagram is like me. So, like, she's fully aware he has a girlfriend, whatever. So when he gets back to the hotel, he texts me. He's like, hey, I'm back. And I'm like, what were you doing? Why were you out with 2 beach girls at 3 a.m.? And he starts flipping around on me. I can't do anything with you, blah, blah. I was just trying to have fun, blah, blah. And I end up apologizing. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm just overthinking it, blah, 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 blah. So he gets back on Saturday, and I leave for the beach on Saturday. So we don't see each other. Yeah. So everything's fine. It's, like, my last day at the beach, so it's Monday night. And I'm like, let me go see if he, like, liked her post or anything. So I go on his Instagram account and I go to search up her name and her name's already in the search thing. Like, he searched her up. So I texted him and I'm like, why are you looking her up? Like, what is the problem here? And he's like, I was just showing her to my friend. And I was like, okay, have you talked to her since? And he's like, yeah, like, me and my friend played Fortnite with her. Like, what? Like, what? Why are you still talking to her? He's, of course, like, I promise it's nothing. Like, it's nothing. And I'm like, all right, like, I believe you, but, like, can you please stop talking to her? I think it's weird that you're still talking to a girl you met at the beach. He's like, yeah, like, I'll stop talking to her or whatever. So I get back on Tuesday and I go over his house because I haven't seen him, like, 2 weeks. So, you know, I'm over there. I just have a bad feeling. I'm over his house. I have a terrible feeling. I have a gut feeling. Like, I just know something's wrong. So I ask him, like, hey, can I see your phone? And he's like, yeah. So he gives me his phone and I was like, did you guys FaceTime when you played Fortnite or did you use Mike's? He's like, we FaceTime. And I was like, okay, so where's her number? And he's like, oh, I, like, didn't save it. And I was like, okay. So I'm in his text. There's nothing. And then he didn't know recently deleted text were a thing. So I'm in his recently deleted text and there's, like, a bunch of numbers, but, like, the one number has, like, a couple hundred deleted texts. And I was like, is this her number? And he's like, no, I don't think so. I think that's, like, Temu. Look what I just did. Whoop. Anyway, so I'm like, this is her number. So I recover it. And the last thing I see is, like, game chat question mark, which I knew they were talking about Fortnite, so I knew it was her. And I went into chat, I was like, is this her? And he was like, yeah. he just like accepted his defeat at that point. So I scroll all the way up to the top, and the first one is like, oh, does your girlfriend go through your phone? And he's like, no, blah blah. And then she's like, your girlfriend seems crazy, all this stuff. And then they start talking about, she was like, oh, I should have kissed you at the beach. And he was like hinting towards he would have, but not saying it to the point where it wouldn't sound like cheating, you know what I mean? So she's like, oh, like, I made a mistake, I should have kissed you. And he's like, oh, well, like, I'm not saying I would or I wouldn't, but like, I guess mistakes were made. So like, you know, things like that, like, that's cheating. Sorry to break it to you, that's cheating. I didn't even know what to feel at that point. I literally, ow. I'm literally sitting here reading these texts of him cheating, and he's sitting next to me, and I'm like, I literally look at him and I laughed. I literally laughed. I was like, are you serious? You're throwing this all away for someone you don't even know? She lives in a different state as you and you're throwing it all away? And he's sitting there like about to cry. He's like, Paige, like, I'm sorry. I don't know what got into me, blah, blah, blah. You know, all the stuff they say when they cheat. And then I'm like, I can't even believe you right now. Like, what? And I literally sat there like silent. He's trying to like hug me. And I'm like, please just get away from me. Don't touch me. Don't talk to me. Anyways, I ended up forgiving him. Worst mistake of my life. I never caught him cheating again, but we're like done now, so I don't really know if he did, what if he did, whatever. But yeah, later on in the relationship, if I ever brought it up, he'd be like, I didn't even cheat, that wasn't cheating, blah blah blah. And then he was saying, I didn't even do anything bad, like I could have done so much worse than what I did, blah blah blah. Yeah, anyway, but yeah, I love you guys.
Farted in front of my boyfriend on vacation and he left me at the hotel. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, and send me on Instagram. Boyfriend and I have been together for exactly 1 month. We met on Tinder and he became obsessed right away. From the beginning of the relationship, he told me that he was not comfortable with gross things. For example, burping, farting, or vomiting. So I understood that he didn't want to see anything like that. He also never did those things in front of me. But he's also very impulsive. Out of nowhere, he calls me and asks me if I want to go on vacation. Said he wanted to take me to Puerto Rico and he paid for everything. The day we got there was the first day of my period. And I get very gassy and sometimes get the runs, but I decided not to tell him because I thought it would gross him out. The second day, I was super bloated and I didn't want to wear a bikini. And when we were by the pool, I couldn't help it. A fart slipped out and it was really loud. Instantly, he got really angry and told me that he was going to go back to the room. When we got there, he told me that I violated his boundaries, that he was so grossed out with my behavior. He told me that he had never heard a girl fart before, and that now all he could think of was me farting by the pool. And it gets so much worse. You have to go to part 2, it's already up. Farted in front of my boyfriend on vacation and he left me there. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, and send me on Instagram. After I farted, he got angry and told me that I violated his boundaries. He had already told me that he's grossed out by things. I apologized for farting like a normal human being. I explained to him that I was on my first day of my period and that usually that means that I get really gassy and sometimes I get the runs. He got angry again because I told him that. He said that he had never been with anybody who was as gross as I was, that he does not want to be present when I do gross things. That's when I told him that he also farts and poops too. He told me that he would never do that in front of me, that he would never want to have a relationship with somebody that's as gross as me. He packed his things and left, but I decided to enjoy the rest of the vacation since it was already paid for. This man ghosted me for 4 months. He just texted me and apologized. He said that he overreacted and that he understands that I'm a human being. He asked me out to dinner and I said yes. You see, I'm still obsessed with him and I really want to have a relationship. Should I not give him a second chance? I really want to, and I will never fart in front of him again. My mom thinks I should say no. What do you think?